Aren't you glad you didn't turn the light on? Okay, I need to say something about this one. It's not really an original creepypasta story. It's actually a creepy urban legend that I remember hearing about when I was in 7th grade. I was about 13 years old at the time. Now, this urban legend has different ways of being told, but I'll get to that after I explain the plot. Again, before I get into it, you're probably asking, if it's not an original creepypasta story, then why am I reviewing it? Well, someone apparently sent it to Mr. Creepypasta because he made an audio of it and uploaded it to YouTube. Now that I've gotten all that out of the way, time to get into what it's about. It's about a college student that's cramming for her exams. She realizes that it's going to take her all night to study and properly prepare for them, so to avoid bothering her roommate, Jenna, she gets all her stuff and goes downstairs to study. Around 2 a.m., she realizes that she had left one of her textbooks in the room, so she goes back to get it. Normally, this is the part where something bad or weird happens, and you're right, but if I say what, I'll be getting way ahead of myself. She goes in the room and doesn't turn the light on because she doesn't want to wake Jenna up. There's a metallic smell in the air, and the main character hears Jenna breathing really hard, almost as if she had been running. She goes to get her book and hears a dripping noise and just thinks it's the faucet in the bathroom. So she just kind of shrugs it off. She leaves and goes back downstairs to finish studying. It gets to be the wee hours of the morning, 6 a.m. to be exact, and she's finished studying. She's very exhausted and decides to get a couple hours of sleep before her exams at 9. She goes back to her room and is hit with the same metallic smell from that night, and walks into a disgusting and disturbing sight. Spread out on the bed is her roommate, Jenna, dead. The metallic smell and dripping noise, that was Jenna's blood. We can assume that the heavy breathing was the killer. Here's where it gets even more disturbing. Written on the wall, above the main character's bed, and in Jenna's blood are the words, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn the light on?" As I said, I remember hearing this when I was 13 years old, and I never forgot it. I'm 21 now, so it's been about 8 years since I first heard it. I also said that this is actually an urban legend, meaning that it probably has been told differently many times. I've heard one where the main character goes in before the murderer kills her roommate, but the murderer covers her mouth so she can't cry for help. Another telling, which to me is better than the one I just told you and the one I reviewed, is where one of the girls goes to a party and the other stays to study for her exams. While the party girl's out, the hardcore study girl is killed. And instead of coming back to get a textbook, party girl comes back to tell her friend about the party, but thinks that she's asleep and doesn't want to wake her up, so she goes to bed. The next morning, she finds hardcore study girl's body in the bathtub and the words written on the mirror. It's not uncommon that urban legends aren't told the same way. Another very solid example is one that I heard, again when I was 13, about a girl and her dog. They're both home alone for the night, and she hears about some murderer that's on the loose. She hears a dripping noise in the basement and gets a little scared, so she pets her dog for comfort and it licks her hand. Well, she eventually has to go see what's dripping in the basement. When she goes down, she finds her dog hanging by its back legs, bleeding out on the floor. It doesn't take a genius to know who did it. It's a scary idea, and the alternate telling of the story is actually even worse. In the alternate telling that I heard, the same thing happens, but written in the dog's blood somewhere in the house is a message saying, "Humans can lick too." God, that still bothers me. and it's been 8 years. It's real interesting how these urban legends are always told differently. Because of that, they can be a lot scarier and more unpredictable. And believe me, I'm a huge fan of scary stories, and I love when they're unpredictable. Now comes the question, what do I think of this one? Well, it's pretty scary, and I think it's worth listening to, and definitely worth telling your friends during a bonfire or a night where scary stories are being told. While this may not be an original creepypasta, it's still pretty scary, and it's guaranteed to send chills up your spine. Listen to it with the lights off. Believe me, you just might be glad that you didn't turn them on.